Hello, this is Jonathan from Shooting Stuff. Today, I would like us to consider where, as a new reloader, you should start your journey in the wonderful world of reloading. The primary consideration when you start reloading is what reloading press should I get? There are four main types to consider: the single stage, the turret, a progressive reloader, and a fully automated system. When you're reloading, there's 5 main steps in the reloading process, starting with clean, used cartridge cases. The first step is to resize the case back to its original dimensions, and at the same time to remove the spent primer. The second step is to replace the primer. We add propellant to stage 3. The fourth stage is to seat the bullet, the projectile, to the correct depth, and finally, where it's appropriate, to crimp the case to hold the bullet securely in place. On a single stage press, these various actions are done one at a time, usually with a new or separate reloading die coming in on each of the steps. That's quite a time-consuming process, but for a new person, it obviously gives you the greatest level of control. You make sure that you understand and readjust the die a lot of times and get quite familiar with the reloading process. Once you get going, it's a process that is not easy to speed up, although batching your cases, so taking a batch of 50 or 100 or a few hundred through the entire resizing process, and then the entire repriming process, and then the entire adding powder process, then seating the bullets, and then crimping is the most efficient way of approaching that. The turret press gives you the advantage over the single stage of not having to adjust your dies in between each of the processes. The dies are set up once in the tool head, and either the tool head is advanced or a shell plate is advanced manually to take one case through the loading process to produce one cartridge at a time. Similar considerations, it gives you a good understanding. It's a little bit faster than the single stage, but it remains quite a tedious and time-consuming process when you need to load volumes. If your requirement is a lot of shooting, such as IPSC or PRS, then the progressive reloader is what you should be looking at. Many people think that it's a complicated piece of equipment and not the place for a new guy to start out. Well, the progressive press always allows you to take one case at a time through the entire process, and in that way you have full control and full understanding. As your confidence increases, so you can add a few more cases, maybe 2 or 3 or 5, all the way through the process, inspect your results, and then you can move on to let it run the way it was intended. A progressive press is a system that progressively moves the case through each of the loading process, generally in a fairly automated system. And a new case is inserted as each case moves progressively through the system, so that once the 4 or 5 stations in the progressive reloader are all occupied or primed, everything happens each time the handle is pulled. Something like the Dillon XL750, Shooting Stuff's most popular progressive reloader, can load about 1,000 rounds an hour, and that is what most of the IPSC shooters around the world are using. The first case moves into the system automatically. It then enters the first die to be resized and deprimed. As the system automatically indexes the shell plate, a new case is fed into station 1 and the first case proceeds to station 2. The whole process progresses until the first case has been re-primed, received new powder, had a bullet seated, and a crimp applied on the final station before being ejected. And so each and every case follows the one before it into the system, and eventually, after 5 pulls of the handle, something is happening in each and every station. So from the 5th pull onwards, you are resizing and depriming in stage 1, while at the same time applying powder in station 2. Station 3 on the 750 would be checking that is the correct amount of propellant in the case. Station 4 would be seating the bullet to the correct depth, and station 5 would be crimping as part of the last stage just before the case is thrown out. On the 750, the insertion of the new primer happens in station 2 on the other end of the handle stroke. Something that you must always keep in mind when you're selecting your basic equipment, that while the reloading press is often the most expensive single item, there are a whole lot of other accessories that are needed. And when you look at the entire package, it is sometimes, or the press is sometimes not that significant part of it. So some of the other accessories that you'll need are a scale to check and weigh powder, a caliper to set the length of your cartridge and to measure certain diameters along the way. You'll need a reloading manual so that you can figure out what is the correct powder charge for your particular caliber and bullet and so on. And that brings us to the components. You're always going to need to reuse your brass cartridge cases. Loading a new bullet each time, a once-use item. The powder and the primer are also single use and need to be replaced as part of the reloading process. Always buy the best equipment you can afford. Buy once, cry once. You don't want to battle with unreliable equipment that keeps on giving you hassles every time you want to reload. We've heard from many clients that they find reloading therapeutic, and I can assure you that's only possible with reliable equipment. Always ensure that local support is available. That means here in South Africa, and you don't have to go overseas to get any replacement bits and pieces should something go wrong. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below. Remember, we'd love to hear from you. So share all your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Please subscribe to our channel so that we can continue to bring you more good stuff. That's me, Jonathan from Shooting Stuff, always giving you more time to shoot.